This is not a copy or a simulation. This is not a lake that longs with all its heart to be the sea. This, my friends, is life. Life at its fullest. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Believe us, we are saying this for every tear shed, for every person hugged. In flickering neon lights with fireworks lighting up the sky, life. Pack your bags, recover the ability to wonder, open your heart and let it explore. But even then, you won't be prepared for this, because we are not inviting you to travel. We are inviting you to live.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Shatia Mason, Communications Manager here at Will the World, and I'm going to be your moderator for today's session. We are so excited to have you. Please leave any questions that you have for Alvaro or Kelly for the end of the session, and we'll be sure to answer them. And don't forget to stick around at the very end because we have a special offer that we know you are not going to want to miss. So let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm going to introduce Kelly and Alvaro. So let's start with Kelly. Kelly Narowski is a certified ADA coordinator, professional speaker, and disability rights advocate. She's visited 49 countries, 6 continents, and 47 states. We got for that. And also our very own Alvaro Silberstein, co-founder and CEO of Wheel the World. Alvaro is a disability rights advocate, professional speaker, and the first person in a wheelchair to complete the Torres del Paine trek in Patagonia, Chile. Clap it up for Alvaro too. So you guys, go ahead and just tell everyone a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, your background regarding accessible tourism, and just anything else you'd like to share with us.
Oh, okay. I guess you want me to go first. So I
Yeah,
am
take it away,
originally,
Kelly.
I'm originally from the Kansas City area, and for those any international guests that we have, it's right in the middle of the United States. But I've moved around a lot because I'm married to someone that was in the army, and so moved around a lot. And um, he just retired, so we're going to stay put in the Kansas City area, and we're building a home right now where we'll live with our 2 rescue dogs, Fraser and Niles. And I'm a big animal lover, love to take pictures, love long conversations with good friends, and um, obviously love to travel.
Amazing, amazing. And go Kansas City Chiefs. Let's put that in there. And Alvaro, please share.
Yes, so thank you, Shatia, for the introduction. And it is great and an honor to be talking here with a good friend as Kelly and a good community member of Will the World. Yes, my name is Alvaro, one of the co-founders of Will the World. I'm originally from Chile, Santiago, Chile. And my experience in accessible travel is being a traveler with disabilities and traveling around in a wheelchair, not as Kelly that has been in 48 countries. I think I'm in the 30s pretty much. Um, and and I'm a quadriplegic since I'm 18 years old. And 1 year after my accident, my best 5 friends decided to take me with them on a road trip to Argentina from Chile, and that trip changed my life in terms that I learned so many things about myself and how I could be independent by traveling, by being on my own, by challenging myself on being outside of my comfort zone. So that also has been an inspiration to found Will the World and push and help others to have travel experiences without limits and seeking the accessibility that we all need for traveling.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Alvaro and Kelly. So let's go ahead and just jump right on into it. So we're going to start with just talking a little bit about the current landscape for accessible tourism. So, what are the main issues that people with different disabilities face when traveling? Kelly, can you go ahead and get us started on that?
Yes. So I would say that just about anybody with a mobility related disability would say that air travel is the toughest. the biggest challenge. And under the air travel umbrella, I'd have to say bathrooms is the biggest challenge for everyone I've talked to. Basically, the bathrooms aren't accessible almost never, and if you can't walk at all, most people cannot go to the bathroom. So that's a big challenge. Also, people are worried about their chairs or other mobility devices getting damaged. So a couple of years ago in the United States, a law was passed that mandated that all air carriers keep track of all the wheelchairs that they damage or lose. And it's been pretty much 0.08% or 0.8% up to 5%. And if you think about that, like what if, no wheelchair or severely damaged wheelchair, what if 1 in 20 walking travelers, had to run into some sort of situation where the airline caused them to not be able to get around? It's just kind of hard to imagine. That wouldn't be acceptable. No one would fly. But people worry about that, and and it's usually the power chairs that get damaged, and so that's a big ordeal. But air travel is the toughest, and I would argue in the United States that ground transportation is tough, especially for power wheelchair users. There's all sorts of issues with that. But in big cities, not so much. But in smaller cities and the rural areas, finding public transportation, ground transportation, especially if you don't have the means, to buy your own van with a lift or a ramp, is a big challenge.
Definitely. Alvaro?
Yes, to complement on Kelly, that I agree with what she mentioned, is that the main for me the main challenges are all the unknowns that you face when you have a disability. Let's put in my case that I'm a wheelchair user, quadriplegic, that need many things that you basically that basically is hard to know when planning the trip, right? So when you start planning a trip, I need to figure out how I will get from the airport to the accommodation that I will be staying. How will be that room that I will be staying? What's the height of the bed? Because it's too high, it will be impossible for me to transfer. Uh, how's the shower? I cannot shower in a bathtub. I need a rolling shower to get a shower. The activities. What's the whole point of going to an accessible accommodation if I will not be able to go outside of that accommodation and not enjoy the place? If it's recreational tourism, if it's like business travel, how I would be able to go to that specific uh, office or place that I need to go because of business. So all those unknowns stress you out, even if when you start planning a trip that you want to do or you need to do, and through the process, if all those details are okay, the travel experience can be amazing. There's other cases that they are not. I would say 95% of the times, or 98% of the times, my flight travel experience has been okay. But that 2% of the times you feel very bad. The same case for the hotels. 90% of the time I have taken a good enough height of the bed. I think it's less, like 70% of the time. So if those unknowns are checked and you have that accessibility that you need, the travel experience is amazing, and those challenges are happily solved. The problem is when you don't, and that's why we need to have more information, clear information, and certainty about those details that are needed by us.
Definitely. Thank you. So, Kelly, do you think that the challenges are the same when flying domestically versus traveling internationally?
So, traveling in general, or you just want to talk about air travel?
Let's talk about air travel. Yeah, while we're on that topic, do you think the challenges
Okay.
are the same?
So, for the most part, yes. The difference is if you're in a place where the Air Carrier Access Act, well, I'll talk about that later, but where the U.S. Law that protects people with disabilities in air travel, the places that you don't have that, it can be more challenging in different ways. And to give you an example, I was on a flight from Hong Kong to Singapore, and they lost the side guards off my wheelchair, and the airline did, and they don't have to pay to replace them. So, I mean, it was $180. It wasn't an absurd amount, but I had to pay for that. In the United States, you will be reimbursed for anything they break. That's one thing. But there are other travel related challenges, that don't involve air travel. Um, but we can go to that later if you want to. So.
Definitely, definitely. So, this question right here is a very common problem that happens. And, whether they have experienced it or not, many wheelchair users, whether manual or powered or other variants, have heard horror stories regarding air travel, right? So, why is this happening? And what makes the airlines and air travel just such a big concern? And Kelly, did you want to go ahead and start with that one?
So we already kind of talked about that with damaged chairs, bathroom issues. I mean, I still think those are the two biggies. Um, the horror stories is usually a lost chair or damaged chair or treatment at the airport, you know. And like Alvaro said, and I hadn't thought about that, but the unknown all the time. Traveling is always stressful because you don't know what's going to happen. And travel is stressful for everybody, right? You're going to have your lost luggage, you're going to have your delays, you're going to have your connections, and all these other things that can happen. Ours is like tripled, the things that we worry about. And you can plan and plan, and still things still go wrong, right? So, to give an example, I was on a trip last summer, and the trip involved 4 flight segments, and 3 out of the 4, the airline left me on the plane after everyone was off for more than 30 minutes, which is illegal in the United States. This was a domestic flights. 3 out of 4. So, if you have a connection, that's scary, right? I always book very long connections because of that sort of thing, or because flights are delayed so often. Um, yeah, I would say. Alvaro, do you want to add to that?
Yes, and I agree, and that have happened to me too, and also damaged wheelchairs and and I believe that why is the reason, right? I think that the flight industry has optimized towards security more than customer experience, right? They have thought about more about security, about logistics, about reducing prices, which is good, but not about how to provide a pleasant customer experience. And we, like I would say, like wheelchair users are the ones that have the worst experience. And in my case, I cannot use a plain bathroom. I have and I do whole techniques. I have traveled to Qatar from Santiago de Chile. That was like a 15-hour flight from Sao Paulo to Doha. Or I flew once from Santiago to Sydney. That was also like a, I don't know, it lasts forever. And I have some techniques on how to avoid going to the bathroom. But I think that will change. And it will change um, soon, because there's a lot of awareness and a lot of acknowledgement in the industry, that this is not right. This is discriminatory. and the time that it will start improving, much more people with disabilities will start traveling much more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Kelly, we touched on this point earlier, but let's kind of just develop this a little bit more. What are some of the rights that disabled travelers have when they're flying?
Okay, so within the United States, we have the Air Carrier Access Act, which was passed in 1986. And if you hop on transportation.gov, transportation.gov, you can look at it. You can print it out if you want. If you print it out, it's over 40 pages long. So we have very comprehensive, far-reaching disability rights law when it comes to air travel, for sure. The Air Carrier Access Act, it applies to all flights that are departing from or arriving to the United States, as well as US flagged airlines, aircraft. So if there's a flight going from, you don't see this very often, but let's say London to Amsterdam and it's pure Delta, it's not a KLM code share, they still have to follow the ACAA, the Air Carrier Access Act. So there's so much to it, but I'll go over just a couple of the important points. So anytime you feel you're being discriminated against, or you're being discriminated against, and let's say you're at the gate and you're having trouble with the gate agent and they're infringing on your rights in some way, you can ask for the CRO, and that stands for Client Resolution Officer. And the ACAA mandates there has to be a CRO on duty for every flight. And I've had to do that before. And for instance, the reason I've had to do it is because I was denied pre-boarding. And in the US, pre-boarding is not best practice. Pre-boarding is a legal right. You have the right to pre-board. Some people don't mind. They don't care. They don't mind waiting till the end to get on or whatever. I do. It's a spectacle. It's uncomfortable. People in the jetway watching you transfer from your wheelchair to, the skinny little aisle chair, and then you go back in the aisle and they're hitting the sides of the seats, and people are having to move their arms and all that sort of thing. It gives me a great deal of anxiety. So I practice my right to pre-board. That would be one thing. And if an aircraft has 100 or more seats, you have the legal right to stow your mobility device in the closet on the plane. The airplane has to have a closet that's 13 by 36 by 42 inches, at least, or it can be larger. So if it fits, you have the right to have it there. And no one will ever tell you that because the flight attendants like to keep their luggage in there. So they're not going to ever tell you about that. But you can say, I'm going to store my mobility device, whatever it may be, your crutches, a cane, a walker, or a manual chair, if it fits. So there's that. And if it doesn't fit, it goes in the belly of the plane, and unfortunately, that's where the power wheelchair users have to put their chairs. So you have the right to be taken all the way from the check-in counter, have assistance from the check-in counter all the way to the gate. That's through security. Any bathroom stops that you want. You have the right to have assistance between connections. You have the right to have assistance from the airplane, outside of ground transportation, and that includes bathroom stops and stopping at baggage claim to get your baggage. So you are not required under the ACA to give advanced notice. I could show up. I could just book my flight, not let them know that I'm a chair user, just show up and, ask for wheelchair. Not a good idea, but the ACA allows you to do that. So if you have a last minute flight you need to book for business, you can do that. And and then you just show up. The big exception to that is power wheelchair users need to give 48 hours. The airlines can require up to 48 hours notice for power wheelchair users that are flying on an aircraft that has less than 60 seats. That would be the exception. So the other piece of legislation, it's more of a manifesto, but it's something that came out in July of last year, was passed, is the Airline Passengers with Disabilities Bill of Rights. So it mirrors the ACA essentially. However, there's some additional mandates in there. For instance, I'm trying to think real quick. Oh, the airline employees and contractors must go through refresher training, disability awareness, and how to treat passengers with disabilities every 3 years. That's a new rule.
Wow, that's amazing to know and just so insightful. So, just one last question, just as we kind of wrap up on the flights. What are some key takeaways or tips that people with disabilities need to know when traveling by air? Kelly, you've given some amazing tips. Are there any additional tips that you can give them? And Alvaro, could you help answer that one?
Alvaro, why don't you start with that one?
Okay, my advice would be like plan smartly on the flights you will get and the stops. For example, try to avoid like long flights and having like enough time to land on your flight and have enough time to get your connection. uh, I use a specific medication drug that is called trospium that allows me to not need to go to the bathroom for extended periods of time. Uh, Take care of your adaptive equipment. I use like a GPS tag on my wheelchair, so I make sure that I don't lose it. Use use your cushion all the time. Try to not leave things on your wheelchair, and 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 be okay receiving assistance from that Kelly mentioned, because that will allow you to be less stressed through the process of landing, of getting inside the plane, of getting the connections, of managing with baggage claim and your luggage, etc. So take advantage that it is mandatory that you will receive assistance through the process.
Okay, so I have a couple tips.
Amazing.
You need to get to the airport early, a little earlier than you just need to allow extra time. I have to um, also say that it's really important to get everything off your chair that could fall off. Um, Side guards, cushion, because they will lose it. Power wheelchair users, the ones I know, they put a lot of them put a list of instructions on how to handle the chair, and that's important for them with the joysticks and all that. And they put it in the plastic and tie it to the. I think that helps reduce fiascos for them. Also, go up to the gate agent when you should see the gate agent show up, and you're at your gate. You're gonna get an aircraft soon, and self-identify as needing to pre-board. Most people prefer to pre-board. They don't want to get on in front of everybody and have the spectacle. It's important to self-identify. The Air Carrier Access Act even mentions that, self-identifying to pre-board. One time I didn't, because I thought it was common sense. I'm right there, and it was in my record. But I was told. I mean, they started boarding the plane, and I went up and I said, "I am not getting on in front of everybody." And she said, "Well, you didn't let me know. That's what you needed." So ever since then, that was like 10 years ago, I always go up and tell them. And so if it's important for you to pre-board, always self-identify and go up to the gate agent and have a chat. Um, Also, don't be afraid to ask for a seat change. I did it, Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. I was in Philadelphia, and yes, I accidentally wore a Chiefs shirt to Philadelphia. It's like my favorite. But anyway, I was just trying to be funny. So the so I went up. The aisles were so small on the flight out there because it was a small aircraft. And so when they bring you back on the aisle chair, um, they hit the sides of the other seats. And, I mean, they have broken people's legs and stuff like doing that. Not mine, but I've heard lots of injuries from ADA attorneys, and it's terrible. So I went up and asked the gate agent, "Can you move me a little bit forward? I'm in the 20th row. Can you move me a little bit forward?" She's like, "Sure." And I'm like, "I don't need bulkhead. I don't care. Just even if it's 10 rows up, see what you can do." She said, "Oh, I'll just put you in first class." It's like, "Oh, okay." It's like, I wish I had chocolate to give you. Now, that does not happen very often. I hadn't been upgraded in in years. But don't be afraid to ask for a seat change.
I
Amazing.
will ask
Those
next
are
time. I
amazing.
will ask definitely for a first class upgrade.
Yes, yes. No one's saying no to first class. Absolutely not. So before we move forward, and this is just great. I think everyone is just really loving you guys' responses. We have to kind of address another accessible travel elephant that's in the room, and that's hotels, right? Because we all know that hotels can really be an issue. Alvaro, can you just kind of just mention just what are some of the challenges kind of faced when booking hotels, and then two part, what are maybe some tips that you can give to travelers that are also booking hotel stays?
I can start if you want. Yes, so the best recommendation is to go willtheworld.com, and that's why we ended up with a new product and with a new solution that because today how normally people do it and how I did it for a long period of time was like that I needed to call the hotel in advance to make sure that the accessible room that I requested was the one that was reserved for me, and I did it when I did the booking, and then like a few days or the day that I was getting to the hotel, making sure that they had the right uh, features that I need. That is basically the ones that I mentioned. That is the height of the bed, and a rolling shower, and the right measurements around to move around in my wheelchair next to the bed, or access the different parts of the room. Uh, I think that there are two main problems that we normally have for booking an accommodation in general. First is not having the right and enough information to make a decision regarding what we really need. And second, that many times uh, your room is not secured, right? And you ended up showing up in the hotel, and someone too and the room that was supposed to be blocked for you was taken by somebody else, and you ended up staying in another room, with not the key accessibility that you requested and you needed, which is tough, because after a long flight you want to be able to take a shower, right? And many times happen that you can't, which is horrible. And at Will the World, that's basically the what we are trying to push and to secure our customers, that we can guarantee that accessible room, and they will need know in advance the specific details of accessibility. So we make sure that they know in advance those unknowns regarding accommodation. And there's so many things that are still hard. In my case, for being one of my challenges when staying at hotel rooms, and this is funny, but that this happens more to me in the US rather than internationally, is how heavy are the bathroom doors. So I don't know why the ADA regulation in the US it requests that there needs to be a specific weight in the doors so they can close automatically, and that makes it impossible for me to open doors and close doors in a room, and in a room bathroom independently, which is super uncomfortable. And that's one of the features that I struggle with. Also, the height of the beds, that most of the times are they don't follow the ADA regulation, and those type of key characteristics are the ones that we are collecting and posting on willtheworld.com of every hotel that we list.
Awesome. Thank you, Alvaro. And Kelly, also just to kind of piggyback off that, what challenges have you faced kind of just in the past and with booking hotels and at hotel stays?
Well, I have to go with my number one thing in the United States is high beds. They are actually higher than in most other countries. I like them to be between 22 and 25 inches high, and that I would think most manual wheelchair users would say that. There are no, there's no ADA reg for bed heights, so they can have them up to the ceiling if they want, and that's the problem. But the issue is that some wheelchair users want them higher. The power wheelchair users, it's easier for them to get over, be lifted over, and that's the problem. But I would say that most people need them lower. Also, you have seniors, maybe somebody with rheumatoid arthritis, that they need them a little higher because they can't bend down as far. So I hear stories like that where people do need higher beds, but it's tough for me. I've had to sleep on the couch in my hotel room before because the bed is just so high and it's not safe for me to transfer. I've fallen twice, and I was traveling alone. It takes like an hour for me to get back in my chair and lots of crying. So there's the high bed thing for sure. And I always worry about, even though it's the United States and everything's pretty accessible for sure, the way things are done in the bathroom, the angles of the toilet and the grab bars being done correctly. I stayed at a hotel in Nashville and years ago, and they didn't even have a grab bar, so I had to grab the thing that to hang the towels on. So yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Wow, those definitely difficult challenges. So, I would love to hear from both of you. Why do you think that the inaccessibility of hotels continues to be an issue?
That's a great question, and I will be empathetic also with the industry, and to be honest, I think it's a complex issue to solve, problem to solve, because as Kelly mentioned, needs are so different that it's hard to build standards. I think in this case, many times standards should also consider a variety, right? Because as well as Kelly, I prefer a low bed, but we have at Will the World we have had also customers that they need higher beds, right? So what's the right ADA regulation? In my opinion, is variety, having both alternatives, right? And
Mhm.
not stick to only one. Same with like weight of the doors, same of like a different type of bathrooms and showers, etc. So the problem is complex. It's possible to be solved, and I think that the better information that we can collect, the better variety that we can offer to the customers, the better the problem will be solved.
Can I just pipe in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the last time the ADA regs were updated was 2010, and they don't know. I've talked to the DOJ. They don't know when they're going to do it again. But what I would like to see, let's take a property like the Hyatt downtown in Denver. They have over 1,000 rooms, and they have over 30 accessible rooms, and of course have the roll-in showers and the tub bench, choices. But what if they had, based on the numbers, I don't know the exact numbers, but I think more people would prefer a low bed. Even able-bodied people, they don't like the super high beds. I guess they just look pretty, and that's why they put them in there. But let's have 20 of those have low beds, 20 of those accessible rooms, and then 10 of them higher. That way you're taking care of both needs.
That's an amazing consideration, and so much just for your answers thus far. This has just been so insightful. And just segueing to this, I want to talk a little bit more kind of just about Wheel the World. So Alvaro, I know you kind of touched on what Wheel the World does a little bit, but just for anyone that kind of missed that or just joining, can you explain just exactly what it is that Wheel the World does?
Sure. So, Will the World is it's an online travel agency focused in accessibility, right? At willtheworld.com, people with accessibility needs can go online and find and book accessible travel experiences. What we offer if you can book at Will the World hotels, right? You can book multi-day trips that are fixed itineraries that consider accommodations, ground transportation, and activities for different days. You can book their tours and activities. For example, if you already book an accommodation to a trip that you have soon, and you now know about Will the World, you can still book the activities with us through our platform. And we also offer group tours. That is basically allowing our customers or allowing our community to travel together. That which has been a really great discovery last year, allowing people to travel together and having so much fun, and also becoming advocates regarding accessible travel and Will the World also in general. Our value proposition, what is that we are inspecting every single hotel, every single activity that we offer and transportation, and we are collecting the data points of accessibility in detail, so our customers can know exactly how the accessibility looks like when booking that hotel or that a travel package that they can book with us. You can find at willtheworld.com, checking the hotels, the height of the beds of the accessible room, the width of the doors, what's the distance between the bed and the wall. That wheelchair users will agree that that's something key to know, specifically in cities like Paris, for example, where spaces are not as big as in the US. Uh, uh, Showers, of course, and not only if it's a rolling shower, the details of the rolling shower, right? Where's the shower handheld located? Where's if there's a shower seat or not? All those details you will get to know them at willtheworld.com. And we push to guarantee the accessibility that our customers are booking online. That's kind of our value proposition, and we have been aggressive in that concept because we should. It's 2023, and people with disabilities should have what they are booking in terms of accessibility, right? And that's our value proposition. Um, we believe that we are also building a community of people that acknowledge that accessible travel is important, of course, for the ones that are users, people with disabilities, but also for others in general. For example, we do these site inspections through what we call Will the World mappers. There are people that go into the hotels getting this information through our app. We provide insights to the hotels and to the tour operators on how they can improve their accessibility for our clients. We provide online trainings to them too. So we are building a full ecosystem of accessible travel towards our users who book trips with us, but also to the tourism industry. And our purpose as a company is to make the world accessible and continue making people with disabilities traveling to those places that they love to go. Yeah, so that was the explanation around Will the World.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Alvaro. And Kelly, I believe you recently traveled with Wheel the World on a group tour. Can you kind of just share a little bit more about that and just what that experience was like?
Sure. So 3 months ago, I went to Chile with Will the World. And just to back up a little bit, I was scheduled to go on the group trip the year before to Costa Rica. And I broke my leg at the last minute. Couldn't go, but I was allowed to keep my credit, the money I'd spent. And so I went with my husband to Costa Rica and didn't go on the group trip. Well, an accessible travel blogger, an accessible travel expert, she hopped on my Facebook page because I kind of announced what was going on and said, "Oh, that's great. The trip you're going to go on, with just your husband's going to be so much better than a group trip." So then she got me like thinking, kind of getting bummed out, but not looking forward to the group trip. And then I felt like, oh my gosh, all these other people for 10 days. What if I don't fit in? What if they don't like me? What if I don't like them? I've stuck with these people so long. And so it turned out to be the exact opposite. So I had a lot of fun. on the trip, and I was traveling solo. So I was initially worried about the bathrooms because if the bathrooms aren't right, I don't go to the bathroom. I mean, that's not good. But what I was impressed with is Wheel of the World. When I expressed that concern, they immediately sent me several pictures of the bathroom of both hotels I'd be staying. And then I felt better. And then the next thing I was worried about was having help with my luggage when I arrived. Not an issue. I don't remember what staff member helped, but they just dealt with it. They just dealt with my luggage, and it was like that the whole time. And I had read that 11 to 13% of Chileans speak English. That's all is 11 to 13%. So I was worried about a language barrier. That was never once a problem. The staff members that were around, different ones on different days, would translate and when I was shopping with the hotel front desk clerk, and that was great. But most of all, what I will always remember about this trip and what will be the most special to me is the connections I made and the people I befriended. I would say that I have made 4 long-term friends from that trip, people that I plan on keeping in contact with. And 5 of them I have either chatted with or talked on the phone with. 2 of them I will see next month because they'll be 3 hours away. So I learned a lot. When you've got several wheelchair users together, there's common ground in your experiences. So that's also special. But I liked the people that didn't have disabilities too. So a group trip is really special. You're meeting people from all over the country, maybe in some group trips all over the world. I will always remember that trip. It's one of the most life enhancing trips that I've ever been on.
Wow, that's incredible, Kelly. Just hearing that, and I think many of us can really just relate to that. Because sometimes when you're going on a group trip, you want to make sure you like the people that you're going to travel with. It's really important. So that's awesome that you had an incredible experience. So Alvaro, I want to pose another question to you, and I know you've spoken a lot about the value that Wheel the World brings. What makes Wheel the World different from its competitors?
I I mean, we take serious the reliability of the information very seriously. We take very seriously the development of technology and how we can provide a customer experience from since our users they they go on our website until they ended up being in that specific place that they have traveled through us with us. But I think the most important thing around Wheel the World is the community that we are building. So Kelly traveled with us. We knew her because she was our customer, and she ended up doing a presentation for all our team to learn more about her experience that for of course is super powerful. She has traveled to 50 countries around the world in her wheelchair, and she has advocated for disability uh, for many years. So I believe the community that we are building is the most powerful thing around Will the World. Our purpose is to make the world accessible, right? But there's no way we are at Will the World today, a 40 people team. It's impossible that we are going to make it just ourselves. The mission that we have, the objectives that we have, and making travel more accessible, it's something that we will achieve if we are capable of making millions of people to commit. And I believe that we are not millions in the community yet, we are thousands. But as long as we make our community grow, I believe that that differentiator will be the largest one, because we will be able to have more supply of trips. We will be able to allow more people to travel together. We will be able to make hotel chains, accommodation, tourism services to commit and invest more in accessibility.
Amazing. Thank you
Can
so
I
much.
add something
Yeah, feel free. Yeah.
about Will the World? Here's the thing. I was a travel agent for 9 years after my spinal cord injury occurred. I was a travel agent for 9 years, and I have a lot of accessible travel experience just because I've booked countless domestic trips, international trips, business, leisure for myself, right? And so I'm normally comfortable doing that, but sometimes I'm not. So if I was going to Kenya, for instance, or the Dominican Republic, for instance, two places that are generally just not accessible, those sorts of situations, which, by the way, Will the World takes care of you in both those countries. They've checked things out in both of those countries. And I would definitely go to them and for help with that, hotels and activities and those sorts of places. And even in other countries that are more accessible, I'd still reach out because they've been there with the measuring tape to make sure. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. So you mentioned something very interesting in this last statement, measuring tape. So Alvaro, how do you go about to make sure that the published listings and the offerings are accessible?
Yes, so we built a web app that is called the Accessibility Mapping System. That it's a tool that we use to collect the specific data of accessibility of a hotel or a transportation service or a specific vehicle, an activity, a museum, whatever that we can list at wilderworld.com. So we have defined, considering the ADA and also the European Disability Act, to find what's the best data of accessibility that we want to collect. Once we so who collect these data points today? How we do it is that we have what we call Will the World mappers, people from our community that we recruit, and we provide them incentives to go and do site inspections in these services or these hotels that we want to map. And our team arranged these visits and the times and the schedule, so they show up in the hotel, for example, and they have enough time and availability to inspect the rooms and the different areas. Once we collect these data points, automatically this is transformed in a listing in our website that can be booked by our clients. So that's pretty much how it works. We are also collaborating with hotel chains and with tourism, with destination marketing organizations, so we can go and do like more massive site inspections. So every day we are listing more hotels, more activities, more tours to be booked at willtheworld.com. So if you might go now and you want to go to Bali and find a place to stay in Bali, no, we don't have places to stay mapped in Bali yet. But I'm sure that as long as you continue going on the website, you will see much more destinations with list detailed information of accessibility to be booked at willtheworld.com.
Awesome. And Alvaro, I've got to ask you one last question. This is a tough one, okay? What happens if a published listing is not accessible?
Okay, so first, we provide full information of the accessibility data points. For example, there's listings that are not 100% accessible because, and we have still listed at willtheworld.com because we think that it might work for someone, even if there's some specific detail that doesn't work for others. Okay. The thing about guaranteeing accessibility is that we will guarantee you what you are booking through our website. In our website, you have all the details of accessibility of the room, right? And if for some point what we listed and that data that you saw in our website, and you get to the hotel and it's not what we offered you there, we will give you the money back as aggressive as it sounds, because we deserve, and I say we because I also have a disability and I also use Will the World to travel. We deserve to have what it is offered for us in terms of accessibility. and it's all about you checking out what's the accessibility that you will get in that specific hotels, to guarantee that you will have it when you get there.
Amazing. Thank you, Alvaro. We know the guaranteed accessibility is definitely a game changer, and hopefully that provides some more confidence and comfort for those booking accessible accommodations. And Alvaro, I believe we have a special offer for everyone that attended tonight. Can you go ahead and just share what that is?
Sure. So, first of all, I wanna thank you, Shatia, for moderating this conversation. You did it amazingly. So let's clap Shatia too, as she claps us. And and also thank Kelly, because she's amazing, and she's a great member of our community. But we appreciate really that all the people that attended this webinar, and we are super happy to make these instances in which we can talk about the challenges of accessible travel, how we are solving them, and to thank you being part of this webinar. We are offering a 15% discount on any booking that you want to do at wilderworld.com. This 15% discount is up to $200, and it will this discount is valid until from now until February 20th. And this is also a way to invite you to use our services, to try us, and to travel without limits, as we like to say it.
Awesome. That's absolutely incredible. And you guys can go ahead and find that link within the chat section. Also, too, a round of applause to you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly and Alvaro. This has been nothing short. It's been an honor to sit alongside you guys and hear your responses. And let's go ahead and just give everyone your contact information. So, Kelly, if people want to ask you questions or get in touch with you, how can they reach you?
Okay, so since we didn't have time to get into the disability rights laws in the United States, including the landmark, most comprehensive civil rights law for people with disabilities in the world, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and Title III is what pertains to travel. There's 5 titles. Since we didn't have time to jump into that, if anybody has any disability rights law questions for me, please shoot me an email, Kelly at kellynarowski.com. So that's Kelly at KELLYN like Nancy, AROWS like Sam, KI.com. And you can ask me questions about accessible travel, but I would encourage you to reach out to Will the World first. But I get people emailing me, asking me about accessibility in Barcelona and so on. And that's fine too. Also, Facebook, it would be Kelly Narowski professional speaker. And Instagram is Kelly Narowski Speaks. So feel free to follow me.
And I
Amazing.
also will jump to recommend Kelly as a public speaker, because she did an amazing speech for our team a few weeks ago, and it was amazing, super inspired. So everyone who is watching this webinar, I recommend Kelly as a speaker because she's amazing.
Yes, so amazing, so amazing. Thank you so much. So, you guys, we have quite a few questions. If you guys have any more questions you want Kelly and Alvaro to ask, go ahead and put those additional questions in the chat now. Alvaro, I'm going to shoot this first question over to you. Is the accessible of different hotel rooms guaranteed? And what if it is not accessible? So, if you could just touch on that point just briefly, in case that was missed.
So we can guarantee what we offer, right? And we have inspected. And if you book something through us, and the accessibility that you encounter when you get there is different from the one that you book through us, we will do a refund for you. Okay. We are confident that this will not happen, right? Because we've been very uh, picky, and we have like implemented good processes that the information and the data that we have raised is accurate, and put together the right processes to book exactly that specific room that we have listed at willtheworld.com. So this will not happen. However, if it happens, we will give you a refund, and we also with our customer service team, we will arrange you in a room or in a hotel that is accessible for you if that happened. Again, I want to make the disclosure that is considering the information that you can check through willtheworld.com, and you book that the specific room, and if that characteristics are not the ones that we offer you.
Great. Thank you, Alvaro. Kelly, this question, what is the most accessible place you've ever visited, and which place is the least accessible you've ever gone to?
Oh, that's a speech in itself, but I'll just go with countries. Okay. Um, Most accessible country in the world is the United States. Nobody can change my mind on that. There are people argue with me about it, but except for public transportation, which Northern Europe and Western Europe, most of Western Europe does a better job with, except for accessibility on public transportation, because only 25% of subways in New York have accessible stations, 70% in Chicago. I could go on and on. United States in every other way, because we have Title III of the ADA, which applies to all public accommodations, including cruise lines porting in the U.S. The least, okay, it's hard for me to say this because I loved the trip so much, but it was Morocco. Um, I love the trip so much. I just had to suck up my pride and just receive help. And Will the World will send you to Morocco. But it was a great trip. Top 5 of my life. Very unique. But as far as accessibility, like I couldn't go alone. I wouldn't be able to handle it solo. I would say it was the least accessible.
Very good to know. Very good to know. And that's interesting feedback because we actually have some group tours coming up from Morocco where we guarantee to make it accessible for you. So you guys can also check that out. I have a question I want to pose to both of you. What's your favorite airline and why? And what's your least favorite and why?
Alvaro, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
They
Go ahead,
all
Alvaro.
they all suck. I don't have a favorite one. That's the reality.
Yes. So post COVID, it's been a nightmare. They're all terrible. I used to be a big Delta girl, and I still fly Delta because that's where all my miles are. But they have even gotten so out of control with the service, and I have lots of stories. But they're recent. They used to be great, but it's just bad. I would say if you asked me this a week ago, I'd say Delta's number one. American's my last choice. But American just treated me like a queen Sunday, both directions. So I just think it's hit or miss. I would
Mhm.
say for people, wheelchair users, I would recommend Delta and Southwest overall still. And Southwest, what's good about that is you can wheel right up to, the entrance to the airplane is wide enough that most wheelchairs will fit through. And so you can wheel right up and hop in the first row, the front seat, and not have to transfer to an aisle chair. People love that. And the service is good. I mean, the people are friendly.
Awesome. Awesome. Alvaro, you still standing by that comment of all of them are in the same category?
It is so
Okay,
random. I think it's up to the situation, the airport that you are traveling to. It depends. I am confident that they are like taking into consideration on how to get better, and they will uh, over the past coming or in the next coming years.
I just need to add Lufthansa and Singapore Air are awesome outside the States.
to know. Great to know. We have another question about ADA. Kelly, I'm going to shoot this one over to you. Alvaro, feel free to chime in. Why does the ADA not regulate furniture like beds, hotel rooms?
That's a really, really good question. That's like the complaint. So removable furniture in hotel rooms, there's no mandate. So the desks can be too high. They're usually too low to fit under, for instance, or they can put a big chair in front of, making it really hard to get around. They'll do it and put it in front of the temperature controls and things like that. So removable furniture is not covered, and I don't know why. I wish some of it was.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for all the questions. These are amazing. Feel free to keep them coming. Alvaro, you mentioned the name of a medication earlier. Can you repeat the name of that medication that you mentioned earlier in the discussion?
I was muted. Sorry for that.
Sorry, go
Always
ahead,
happen.
Alvaro.
Um, it's Trospium. It's Trospium. Um, so it basically allows you to to contain more urine. Not a very fancy topic, but wheelchair users, we talk about this all the time, on the most common and easy ways to go and pee, and this allows you to avoid going to pee for long time of extended periods of time.
Good to know. Hey, this is a safe space and an honest chat, so it's all fine. Um, Also, another question here, Alvaro. I'm going to give this one to you. Does the disabled party need to bring someone to assist in navigating travel to the location, or does Wheel the World assist with that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So, does the disabled party need to bring someone to assist in traveling to the location that they're taking a trip to, or does Wheel the World provide assistance? So, I'm assuming that this is maybe like flight assistance if we provide that.
I mean, yes. So we many of our multi-day trips, they have like tour guides that can assist the person, like pushing your wheelchair, or providing basic assistance, right? We always like push ourselves to find caregivers at the destination if it's needed, and to be very realistic around my answer, many times we are capable of finding caregivers, many times not, right? And when I meet caregivers, comparing to basic assistance, if someone needs more assistance regarding like their bathroom routines or dressing or during the nights, etc., right? And people can go independently by their own, as Kelly did to the trip to Chile, totally fine. And yes, for basic assistance through multi-day trips specifically, uh, you will be helped by tour guides, is if necessary, for transfers or for pushing, etc. And caregivers, that's you can ask us, and our traveler experts will do a big effort to find it if you need it.
Great, thank you. We have another question about flights. Um, can you talk about, Kelly, I'm going to ask you this one. Can you talk about what should someone do if their wheelchair is damaged during the flight? Where can a complaint be filed?
So you're going to want to go to the Department of Transportation. Um, is it dot.gov? I don't know. Let's see. If you Google Department of Transportation, it'll pop right up. But that's where you're going to want to go file your complaint. You're going to want to file with the airline first, immediately. That's what you're going to do
Don't
immediately.
don't leave the airport before complaining the airline, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That you got to get it fixed. You got to get worked that, have the airline work that out quickly. So yeah, but later if you want to do it, actually I would encourage you to Department of Transportation complaint, because they look for patterns and then they go after the airlines and they find the airlines and they make them make changes. So yeah, I do both, but doing it at the airport is first and foremost.
And at Will the World, many times we recommend uh, shops or people that can help you fixing your wheelchair if that happens at the destination. And also my recommendation that I have done it so many times is go to go to a bike shop, right? And today those bike shops are also e-bike shops, so they are also experienced on fixing electronic things. And many times I have fixed my adaptive equipment through bike shops when it's needed, so you can get your equipment uh, usable and fixed as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. Another question just around protecting wheelchairs in flights. Should you put signs on wheelchairs to protect them? Either one of you.
Oh, you mean like what I was talking about earlier with the instructions on how to
Yeah,
handle
but
it?
I believe so. Yeah, in terms of handling, is it a best practice to put a sign on it or anything, maybe fragile or handle with care or anything else?
Absolutely. And instructions like don't pull by, don't touch the joystick, or exactly how to pick it up or handle. I mean, we're talking about 300 and 400 pound, chairs. So they're, and with special gadgets, really fragile. So detailed instructions. A good friend of mine, he puts detailed instructions, puts it in plastic, and then ties it to the chair. And I think that helps a lot. So yes.
Great. Alvaro,
And,
this one is for
and,
you.
and,
I'm sorry. Did you want to answer
and,
that
and
one?
something that I think we didn't mention that I think it's crucial is try to be with your wheelchair as much as possible. That means try to like give to the airline your wheelchair right in the door of the plane, and not before. That way you will make sure that your wheelchair will be safer, and also request, and it's guaranteed that your wheelchair needs to be outside the plane once you get off.
And that's a legal right, by the way, to have that. I actually refuse to get off until my wheelchair is brought up. So, and when they send it to baggage claim, and I'm like, I'm not getting off till you go get it. They love that at big airports, but I just refuse to get off. And the pilot always takes my side because once you're off, they don't have to worry about you. But when you're on there, they want to move that aircraft, get the other people on. So they're gonna fix the problem very quickly. Once you're off, you don't want to be sitting on an aisle chair. You get a pressure sore, waiting on them to go get your chair. So yeah, if you want to be, you might sound like you're being difficult, but it might be a matter of your health, to make them go get it.
Great, thank you. And just the one last question. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. Any other questions that we didn't answer, we'll be sure to go back after the session and reply to those individually in the chat. But just one last one for you, Alvaro. Do you help with other disabilities like hearing, blindness, autism, etc.?
We collect the data of accessibility also that impacts other disabilities. Okay. And we have had clients that have autism, that they are blind or deaf. So yes, and we will make sure to find and see how we can provide the best travel experiences also for them. We also need to be realistic, and disabilities are very diverse, and the needs are very different, and our expertise today is physical disabilities and disabilities related to mobility, right? That also involve other like cognitive disabilities, right? That they also need like people that need some uh, are also challenged by mobility. So that's our expertise. But yes, we have done many people blind and other disabilities travel. Even we have done crazy stuff. We did an inclusive expedition to a top of a mountain in the desert in Chile with two blind people, two wheelchair users, two deaf people. I was involved on that expedition. It was the best experience, one of the best experiences of my life. And we filmed a documentary that you can check on YouTube. It's called Will the World Atacama. Will the World Atacama. You can watch the documentary online.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alvaro, Kelly, and thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. You can continue to feel free to drop those questions in the chat, and our team will be sure to get back to you. Always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us on our website, our Facebook page, and just don't forget to keep exploring with limits. So, thank you all so much for tuning in.